Hi, I just want to show you my little library we've got here, and yeah, it's really small, but yeah, this little library tucked away has got all my trading books that I've collected over the years, and just quickly show you what we've got. So yeah, let's look at the top shelf, and these are my best books. So we've got the Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. It's got stories, well, I think these are facts actually, of historical bubbles that people got caught up with. So namely the Mississippi bubble, the can't remember the other one. It's a good book anyway. Definitely get that as your first book, so you don't get carried away with any financial bubbles. The Tulip Mania, that was one. The South Sea Bubbles, yes, that's what I remember from that. It's a good book. This one, this is another beginner book I'd suggest for people. Rich Dad Poor Dad. This is the first book about what's an asset, what's a liability. So yeah, you need to get your money sorted out first, I think, before you can ever think about trading. The next book we've got here is a first edition, I think that is, of Nicholas Darvis, How I Made $2 Million in the Stock Market. This is a great book. I've got more than one copy. This is a bit like the Rich Dad Poor Dad book by Robert Kiyosaki. This is George Clason, The Richest Man in Babylon. And yeah, there's a YouTube like podcast of part of this book, and yeah, it tells the story of the richest man in Babylon, how he managed to accumulate wealth by putting some aside every year. So yeah, pay yourself first is the other mantra in that. This is another book I got probably about 15 to 20 years ago, and this is the light bulb moment for me, I think. This is The Way of the Turtle by Curtis Faith. He was one of the original traders from Richard Dennis and somebody else. And yeah, there's two traders in the city who had a bet with each other that they could teach complete non-traders how to trade, and this is documented in the book. I bought this in January 2010, so I stamped that. So yeah, that's 8 years ago, not 20 years ago. It seems like 20 years ago. And yeah, it lists 4 trading methods in there, and the light bulb moment for me was just following one of those, and that was the Donchin channel method. And that worked for me, and I thought, wow, this book has actually got some truth to it. There are lots of books out there. Some will just tell you something and not the full story, and you need to spend money buying their other books or their other courses. So yeah, I've only kept books which have told me the truth or possible methods, and they're not like a leader to sell you something else. So yeah, definitely this was a good book for me. And the next one was a recommendation from Dan Zanger, How to Make Money in Stocks by William O'Neill. And yeah, I've read through this one. I got this more recently, and I think that is a good book. It is quite tough. You need to probably read that about 10 times. The next book I've got in the top shelf is the Jesse Livermore, How to Trade in Stocks. And this is actually written by Jesse Livermore, but it's got some extra commentary by Richard Smitten, and that's at the back of the book. But this is actually written by Jesse Livermore himself, and this is a reprint. So I would probably ignore the charts in there, because Richard Smitten, I think he tries to apply the methods to today's chart, but you need to read the words from Jesse Livermore's mouth and not any interpretations, because people can read it the wrong way, I think. But yeah, it's definitely a great book, so definitely have that one. The next one, and I've got two of these. One's a hardback, one's a soft copy. This is Dan Weinstein's Secret for Profiting in Bull and Bear Markets, and I think he's still trading today. And this has everything you need, I think, to look at the markets. You just need to know how to apply his charts in today's chart packages. So he uses weekly charts for a weekly 30-week simple moving average, and the charts are all laid out in 2 to 3 year time spans. So if you keep to that, you should be able to apply his method. So that's definitely a good book. The last one we got on the top shelf is the Reminiscences I can't even say it, of a Stock Operator, and this is the hard copy, and this is basically a interview of Jesse Livermore, but he used a fake name at the time, and there's some wisdom in there. Definitely a good book. There's some good quotes in there, like it wasn't the thinking that made the big money for him, it was the sitting and waiting. And you know, at this point in time of the market, it's definitely a good time to sit and wait for your trade plan to play out. So moving down, and I'm just going to whiz through these because this is going to take forever. We've got Trading by the Minute by Joe Ross. That looks like a Nicholas Starvis type box there. That's more for futures trading, day trading, and that is more, I've kept that because that's more of a collector's item now, and there's not many of those about. Let's have a quick look at it. And yeah, there's no time scale, there's a 30-minute chart, and it's more charts than anything. A bit of bar chart reading. I'm not too good at bar chart reading, so that doesn't quite tie into what I do. We've got Wealth Building Strategies by Chris Waltzek. He does the Gold Seek radio show, and I've been listening to that for many years. I've not listened to it lately because gold isn't really doing anything, but definitely Gold Seek radio is definitely worth having a look at. And that's his book. This is John Lee's How to Make a Million Slowly. I think he's the one that had £1 million in his ISA account. He grew it from, you know, whatever it was to 1 million, and I think he's an MP in the Houses of Parliament. So that was an okay book. This one I haven't read yet is Tom Bolowski's Chart Patterns book. So I figured he's more of a technical analyst, and yeah, put that back. I haven't read that yet. I think that will probably be a good read. This is Momentum Masters. This is a interview type book with Mark Minervini, David Ryan, Dan Zhang, and Mark Ritchie II. The Battle for Investment Survival by Gerald Lieb. I haven't read that yet, have I? But anyway, just check my history. We're still recording. This is Malcolm Stace's Armchair Tycoon and Poolside Tycoon. Not read these yet, but I know he's in one of the investor forums, and he posts there. What's this one? Oh, 0 to 1 million by James Smith. I think this is a UK trader. Can't remember what was in the book, but that's what I've got there. Liar's Poker. I haven't really got into that one yet. I think everyone tells me to read that, but I haven't got around to it. It's more of a fiction based off a real trader, and yeah, I think he tells his story about how he was in the city. This one is Mapping the Markets by Robert Griffiths, and Deborah Owen. Bit of a technical analysis type book. There's How to Make Money Trading. This guy, I think it's Lex Van Dam, he took some traders and followed them and see how they could trade. He was on the BBC documentary $1 Million Traders. Unfortunately, it was a bad time in the market when this when he did that experiment. It was in 2008, so it was a really bad time to be long. This is Rich Dad's Conspiracy of the Rich. This is one of his later books, when gold was doing well, and that was an alright book actually. Some say Robert Kiyosaki is he's out to sell books, but I think they're interesting to read, and they're not massively expensive. Get this back in there. What else we got? We got The Psychology of the Stock Market by G. Selden. Looks like a reprint of an old book. Can't remember. I have read these. This one. This is Mike Maloney's Guide to Investing Gold and Silver, and I bought this when gold was doing well and silver was doing well, but now it's not doing so well, so it just sits on the shelf. But another partnership with Robert Kiyosaki. This is one of the first books I bought before the gold run started. This is by Howard Ruff. And I thought this was a really good book at the time. I even covered it with a piece of plastic. But I can't remember what was in there now. This is Spread Betting the Forex Markets by David Jones. This is the Financial Spread Betting Handbook. I've read this a few times, but spread betting isn't for me. Basically, in the UK, you can buy stock on margin or bet on margin. You don't actually buy the underlying asset, and it's tax free. But spread betting is a whole different ball game. You've got to know what you're doing, and that's really for people who do work in a city and they do know what they're doing. City Speculator by Mervyn King, Governor of the Bank of England, foreword. Christopher Fields. I don't think I've read that yet. This is John Galbraith's A Short History of Financial Euphoria. So more stories about booms and busts. Jim Rogers' Hot Commodities. This is one of the first books I bought. I wonder if I've got a date on there. No. But yeah, that was quite a convincing book about commodities, and that led on to the massive commodity run in 2007, but it went down again, boom and bust. Going into the first books by Jack Schwager, Market Wizards, Interviews with Top Traders. This is another one, Stock Market Wizards. This is the New Market Wizards. Market Wizards, I think that's the hardback. This isn't a trading book, but it's a list of the wealthiest 250 people in the UK, and yeah, randomly just picked one. Lord Hungerford, he was worth 25,000 back in the 1300s, and today he's worth 8 billion if it was. But yeah, basically, most people who have got money have got it in land, and that's basically what I learnt from that. Peter Lynch, One Up on Wall Street, that's an alright book. Felix Dennis, How to Get Rich. He was a media mogul, and I thought that was quite a good book. We've got the James Dines DVDs, Master Course Investment Strategy Method and High Stakes, so more of a psychology DVD. Now kindly, I ordered these and they got lost in the post, and they sent out a second copy of each from America, and for nothing. So that's give him some good feedback on that one, and I found these quite useful. This is James Dine's Mass Psychology: How Investors Can Make Money Using Mass Psychology. Now it's a shame that James Dines isn't much in the media at the moment. He could have his own YouTube channel or podcast, because he has lots to say about the stock market, and yeah, that's a good book, I think. That's hard to find. The Invisible Crash, which is about inflation and gold. Whoops, got a bookmark here. And yeah, he was definitely one of the first gold bugs, and he wrote a gold bug book later on. And yeah, there's some charts in there. There's James Dines. He was on some of the interviews on the Gold Seek Radio. These two books next are nothing to do with trading. They're more of a conspiracy book. I haven't even read them, but yeah, The Biggest Secret by David Icke. I found these in a flea market, and they were wet. They're soaked through, and they've got a bit of mould on there actually. This is the second book, something about the Twin Towers, the conspiracy. I won't go into that. This is Profitable Patterns for Stock Trading by Larry Pesavento, and that's a picture of Jesse Livermore there. And he was on, I think, Gold Seek Radio for a bit, and I couldn't get my head around these patterns, more like diamond type patterns in charts. I think it's something to do with GAN methods. So yeah, I'll just keep that for, you know, record's sake. This is a printout of The Stock Market Trading Secrets of the Late Jesse Livermore by C.M. Flumani, and I think this was a good book as well. Basic rules in schematic form. I've got a James Dines letter that came with the investment courses, so I haven't got a subscription, but he does like a newsletter every month, I think, is it? Moving up, we've got The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Haven't read that. That was one of the first books I bought. Trading in the Cockpit with the O'Neill Disciples. I haven't read this one either yet. This is basically my first chart book. So I've printed tons of charts off the computer. I might do a video and show you about this one later on. This is Bernard Baruch, My Own Story. This isn't a trading book, it's more of a autobiography. There is only a few pages about trading, but he was best friends with Jesse Livermore. We've got the Jesse Livermore Richard Smitten autobiography. That was a great book actually. This is Jesse Livermore's Methods of Trading in Stocks by Richard Wyckoff. And what we're going to do here, another copy of Nicholas Darvis, one of the first books, How I Made $2 million in the Stock Market. This is his other book, Wall Street, the Other Las Vegas by Nicholas Darvis. But all you need is his first book, I think. This is his later book, You Can Still Make It in the Market by Nicholas Darvis. Another copy of, this is the first one I bought actually, and the others I've got for collectible status. This is How I Made $2 Million in the Stock Market reprint. This is the Darvis System for Over-Counter Profits. This is for small stocks, and I couldn't make head or tail of this one, so definitely probably give that one a miss. This is his last book by Nicholas Darvis, The Anatomy of Success. Nothing to do with trading, but more on how to achieve success and be comfortable with who you are. I've not even read this one yet, but I got up to here halfway through, so I've got the gist of that one. This is the one I'm basically part way through. This is the latest Jesse Livermore autobiography. The Man Who Sold America Short in 1929. I'm probably 3/4 of the way through, and there's some pictures as well in there. So that's the two shelves here. Let's put the books back. Now if I turn around, we've got one more shelf, and I just want to make sure my camera is facing the right way. So these aren't my books, but these are my books, and this is our final shelf we're going to look at. So we've got The Contrarian Who Saved the World by Dave Scarica. This is a story, but it's about trading. The Joy of Not Working by Ernie Zelinsky. This is more of a money management, passive income type thing. Not read that. Road to Riches by Peter J. Not read that one. These are the Financial Times, more of a guide than trading books. We've got Relax Into Wealth by Alan Cohen. I think I've read this, but I can't remember what was in there. Dave Morgan, Get the Skinny on Silver Investing. He's a big silver bull. He's got his own website, silverinvestor.com. Boom and Bust. Stuck together. That's a bit damp actually. By Fred Harrison. Keep that on the top. That can dry out. Stop Existing and Start Living by Vince Stazioni. We've got these three books by Jim Slater. He's a great trader. His son's taken over now, and they're alright books. The Naked Trader, Robbie Burns. This is one of the first books I bought as well, and I found this book pretty good. We've got The Last Hedge Fund Market Wizards by Jack Schwagan. More interviews in there with top traders. This is more of a textbook. Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets by John Murphy. I will come through this whole book I have. Oops, there's everything in there. That's a proper textbook. We've got a Point and Figure book by Jeremy Duplessis, and I did have a look at Point and Figure. Useful if you know they took away all the free charts. We've got the Bear book, Survive and Profit in Ferocious Market by John Rothschild. Trend Following by Michael Covell. And the last one is Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom by Van Tharp. I've read that a few times. It's hard. It's a real hard book to take in. But yeah, that's my library. So if there's anything you want me to talk about it, you know, look at a book more closely, let us know in the comments. stand up. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that.